Hello, my name's David. I'm an environment artist, and today we're taking a look at Alan Wake 2. We're going to have a good mooch around this kind of initial area down by Cauldron Lake. Quite an intensive area in terms of foliage, trees, some lovely natural landscapes to look at, and we're going to be having a look kind of under the hood, as it were. We're going to take a look at the geometry that we can see. I've got a camera mod that we're going to have a good mooch around with. We can have a look beneath the ground and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we'll have a good general look at it, and I'll just have a chat about it really, and explore it, because it's a absolutely stunning looking area. So before we get into all that nitty gritty, I want to say thank you to channel members. Welcome to new channel members as well. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I say this in every video, and I mean it. Yeah, it's a real foundational help for some of the various tools I'm using. It's forming a backbone for the channel going forward. So I can't say thank you enough. So yeah, really appreciate it. So we shall get on with it, shan't we? We're here with Saga here, and her detective friend, Sam Lake, really, isn't it? Slash Max Payne, slash Remedy Dude. He's sort of inserting himself into various games, isn't he? Yeah, well, I mean, why not? I suppose it looks like he's having fun with it, but he's just along for the ride. But we need to be concerned about this chap. We're having a good look at all this now. This is a heavy game in terms of tech, right? This is doing a lot of stuff, and this has been the most troublesome video I've done to get smooth capture. I've been all over the show with screen tearing and juddering and just awful gameplay capture. But I've had to turn some of the settings down from like ultra to kind of high, and in some cases medium. I've got the path tracing down to medium. Because when you're capturing gameplay footage, I use OBS Studio. It's quite, it takes up resources. And a game like this likes to really use your GPU. It's very GPU hungry, I'm finding. And OBS needs some GPU room too. And so I've been experiencing, basically resource starvation for OBS, and it's just not been able to capture the frames. So that's why in normal gameplay for me, if I'm just playing, then I'm ultra. But capturing footage, I've had to turn it down a bit. And I've had to come down from 4K to 2K, I'm afraid. I know. I usually do everything in 4K, and I usually get away with it absolutely fine. But this game, it does not want me to capture 4K footage smoothly. So unless you want like sub 1 frame per second, I've had to knock it down to 2K. So, I mean, it still looks beautiful though, doesn't it? 2K is still really good. It's still really good. So I'm more than happy to play games in 2K. It's just that, because I have the capability, I can capture most stuff in 4K. So I do. And that's excellent, isn't it? But yeah, so we're in 2K. But yeah, this game, man, it's just doing so much. And this is one of the heaviest areas of the game. I mean, just look at it. Just look at all this. Yeah, this is doing a lot of stuff. And one of the reasons, I guess, it's so heavy, particularly in this area, it's skinned mesh. And basically what that means is, for all its movement, it's attached to skeletons, basically. Like in characters, they've all got basically skeletal rigs underneath the mesh, that the vertices of the mesh follow along with those bones to some degree or another. And modern character animation is quite complex in its skeletal rigs, and indeed different parts of the skin, body, will be affected by usually about like 3 or more skeletal bones. Say like the shoulder, that will be connected to the upper arm, um, and the kind of whatever the rig is doing. But it's probably a shoulder bone-ish sort of thing for the clavicle around the collarbones, and it'll probably be influenced by the spine, maybe the neck. So it gets quite complex, and all this veg is using that as well. I mean, it's not the only game to do that, but a lot don't do that because it's very intensive on resources. It sucks up a lot of power. All of these they've got like bones so that they can sway and move around and behave realistically. And of course, with ray trace lighting, that makes a difference. You get really accurate shadows, and we'll pop over to this area in the dark shortly, and we'll have a look at that. But so it means you get really great like shadowing and stuff. And like if you're not doing that sort of approach, like probably most games tend to use vertex shaders to kind of fake movement in the veg. So the shader will be kind of employing some sort of sine wave or a layering of sine waves for motion, and different vertices on the model will be affected by that shader. And so it's kind of like a cheaper way to achieve a bit of movement. But of course, yeah, it doesn't shadow as well, stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on under the hood here. Yeah, it's really cool. But let's just have a little wander around. I think that the veg in this game, the trees, the leaves, the grasses, the undergrowth, I think it's probably the best I've seen in any game. It's so good. I mean, second place for me now is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Outstanding forestry work and undergrowth, veg in general, really, really good. But this, I think, it just takes the biscuit. Yeah, it just looks so great, and it's all in the undergrowth as well. It's so filled out with vegetation that looks so great and moves beautifully as well. I mean, when you look at it, it almost looks static, but it's not. There's a subtlety of movement in all of this stuff, a subtlety that is entirely lost on many games where you get the idea that there's a hurricane going on, like. I mean, brilliant game, but Witcher 3 completely over-egged the veg movement, I thought. It always felt like I was in a storm. And Dragon Dogma 2, same story. Assassin's Creed Shadows, same story, very much. And just look at this here. It's just subtle, isn't it? There's motion everywhere, but it's not over the top. And it's really well-observed motion as well, because if you look at it, it's the thin little branches that are moving the most. And the heavier branches on these pines and stuff, there's more weight to them. And it looks like there's more weight too. They're moving, but it's just a bit more, there's a bit more heft to it. So I think they've just got every aspect of the veg bang on in this game. I think it looks fantastic. Now, the only kind of area I could pick it up on is there's quite a bit of pop-in in the shadows of the veg. I wonder if I could sort of find a better place to illustrate it, really. So if you check out that grass just to the right of Saga's head here, see, you see the shadow pop-in? Pop, pop, pop. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I do find that my eye registers pretty much every one of those pops, which is unfortunate. I'd like some sort of option to be able to improve that. Yeah, I mean, look at that one there particularly. That's a particular bad one, isn't it? Just to the right of Saga's kind of arm there. Pop, pop, pop. That's a really close pop in. So, I mean, my settings are what they are. They're at the kind of higher end. Most stuff is on ultra, and I just like knock the path tracing down to sort of medium. So I wouldn't expect to see that level of pop in at relatively high settings like this, but it is what it is, and it's just a point to note. but it's a sacrifice that I'm very willing to make for forests that look this good. It's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And look at it, how it's all catching the light there. It's so nice, isn't it? But let's have a quick look at some stuff. Let's have a look. Well, let's just get a read of the scene. You know, let's just like strip back the textures. And I think that it's very useful to be able to kind of look at this. And let's get the camera going. So I've paused the game because for this particular game, for this camera mod, moving the camera moves the character, so you kind of need to lock that out. So we won't be seeing any kind of veg movement in this mode, just so you know. But I mean, it's really, I find it, and I always have when working at a studio, you know, looking at the shapes without the textures. It lets you read the scene without the noise of textures. And it's fascinating, isn't it? It's you know, you get to see all the faces, and you get to see all the ups and downs and the shapes, the skeleton of the scene in a way. You know, it's the bare bones of it. And isn't it interesting that, you know, the human eye and brain can get a perfect read on 3D space without any color whatsoever? You know, it's like in painting, you know, value, i.e., dark to light, is the most important thing to nail in any painting. You know, you want to get, if you get your values right, you can put any color down. It doesn't matter. You can literally put any color and you'll still be able to read the scene as a coherent 3D space if you've got the values right. You know, it might look a little weird, and you know, you could certainly mess around with someone's mind with very vibrant colors in the distance versus muted colors up close, because it's usually the opposite. You know, you could make some interesting artwork doing that, but you know, yeah, color doesn't really matter to the human brain in terms of reading 3D space, and this is why I find this view so informative and interesting when looking at games. It's really cool, and it lets you just, yeah, see all those shapes. Oh, we did a little clippage there, so let's do it. Let's have a look down, and it's quite interesting when you're looking at these rocks. And well, maybe we'll come out of this so I can give you full color mode. And you know, we've got a lot of these rock outcrops all over the show in this level, and you know, when you look at it, there's, you know, just a hard edge there because it's just a asset that's sat in the ground. You know, most games do it like this. It's just a whole big boulder, and it's just, you know, bashed into the terrain there. Some people call it kit bashing, you know, but it's yeah, you just sit it in, and it doesn't really matter, does it? It gives you a great deal of flexibility in how you want to arrange the scene. You know, so you can put stuff in front of other stuff, sandwich it in, and you know, it all just works, doesn't it? Now, if this was a Rockstar game, we'd be spending a lot of time on decaling that stuff so that there was no join, and that's kind of a Rockstar thing. That, you know, we spent a lot of time eradicating hard edges, and you know, it's nice. It makes the world look really cool and connected and cohesive, but it's not really that necessary in many cases, because a world can just look absolutely fantastic without any of that as well. That's kind of like the, you know, the icing on the cake sort of thing, isn't it, if you're going to do all that stuff? But it makes building out the world much more complicated, time consuming, and fiddly, but it does look great. So, you know, it's different approaches, isn't it, to building out the worlds? It's how much resources do you have, really? Rockstar's got the resources to do that sort of stuff, and most other companies don't, so they don't bother. But and especially if you've got enough veg to cover stuff like that, you know, it really doesn't matter. And in many cases, you don't even see it unless you've got a camera mod like this. So let's have a little mooch around here. Let's look at this rock face here. A little clip under there, you know. So just big old rock assets. And you notice, like, you can see the back faces of it, the back side of it, rather. And, you know, you might think, well, why is it rendering all that sort of stuff? You know, you needn't be drawing all that. But as I understand it, Remedy's Northlight engine is really good at culling out stuff like that. It's the ability to kind of see what's being obscured or occluded by overlay geometry, and they can break a mesh down into sort of patches and not render stuff like that. So, um, I mean, let's just say, let's have the caveat that, I'm an artist. I'm not a tech artist or a programmer. So, you know, I'm often wrong with things. Let's just be honest. I mean, this is stuff I've picked up as part of the job, but as all my time as an environment artist, I don't need to know any of this stuff. You don't need to know the technical stuff. At least in my experience, as long as I could art my way through life, that's all you need to know. Artists, you do the art, and all that other stuff is left to tech art and programming. But you can gain an understanding of this stuff. And so, as I understand it, that's what the engine's doing. It's culling out anything that's occluded to quite a high degree, which is why we can get away with a forest that looks like this, that's so dense. And of course, it's not a true open world, is it? So, you're not really making something like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or RDR 2, something like that, a big open world like that. So you can also squeeze more resources into that smaller area. So, it's trade-offs all the way, isn't it, really? So again, this so useful view. And let's just remind ourselves, this is an interpreted kind of, I mean, it looks like a normal map. It's not really. It's all derived from the depth buffer. So it's inferring facial orientation and using the colors of a normal map. So, I mean, it's useful for looking at the normals because these normals are pretty accurate. Oh, look at there. Ah, a little hole there. Interesting. I love seeing stuff like this. Let's just switch that off and activate that and have a look at it there. I mean, this isn't it. When I'm looking at this sort of stuff, it's not criticism of the game. It's just like, yeah, stuff gets missed, doesn't it? Every now and again you'll miss something. And when you're walking up here, I mean, well, let's bring Saga up here. Am I in the right spot? I hope I think it was just this rock on the right here, wasn't it? That pop-in shadow. Yeah. Shame. But there it is, there. Just in front of Saga there. So, I mean, would you notice that? Would you notice it? I don't think I would have noticed it. So, every now and again, when you're inserting stuff into the ground like this, yeah, this is one of the dangers that you kind of miss a bit, don't you? So, it's fine. It's all good. So, one thing that I would really like to do with this camera mod, right? We've had a look at the sort of depth buffer and all that sort of stuff, but we can look at it on a broader scale here. So let's just take in this general scene on a larger scale. Right, so let's zoom out. So let's zoom out more. So what we're seeing on screen here is more or less the whole area here. And maybe if I could even zoom in a bit more. That is pretty much the extent of this area that we can play in. And it's all within this sort of forested area. You can see the path there. And you can see the trees lodding as well from high to low. I would really like to be able to freeze the LOD chain and zoom in. That's usually a tool that you've got in engine. You could sort of just freeze the LOD chain, zoom right in, and you could just check out your LODs as well. And for various reasons you might want to do that. But yeah, you can see the transition. And of course, moving fast like this, flying through the air, it's very evident that the LODs are swapping. But when you're playing, it's largely unnoticed, isn't it? So that's there. This is a really great view to see the makeup of these levels. Off off to the side, we've got really low res geo, just really basic stuff. No one's bothering painting this sort of stuff to any degree. It's whatever looks fine from the accessible playable areas, you know, and generally none of that is. You might see some broad shapes, but that's about it. And if we have a look, here's our high-res trees that are lodded, and it's quite interesting when we look at all these backdrop trees, all the trees that we see on the mountains and the horizon there, these are all billboard trees. So a billboard is basically just one poly, so that's two triangles, of course, but one quad, we could say, with a nice texture of the trees on it. And you see here, these are in shadow because the sun's over there. Let's go over here and look at these ones, because these are really good billboards. You know, sometimes billboards look flat because they are flat, and it's sometimes difficult to get decent looking billboards. But these are, you know, they're well out of the playable area. So there's like a buffer zone of high-res trees. And then you swap to all these because look, they're just one poly. Look at that, they're two-dimensional tree. But the thing that makes the difference is how they're lit. You know, the image has been captured very possibly from high-res trees, and they'll have taken a number of different images from those high-res trees that are lit correctly, and they're applying the correct material at different places around Cauldron Lake here. So, you know, like we saw there, the sun is behind those ones. So they're using the texture that is entirely in shadow, like that there. And so over here, we've got it where it's lit from the correct angle. And it's really convincing, isn't it? These are really, really good billboard trees. I mean, even at this distance, they look pretty 3D, don't they? And all you got to do is just look that way, and the flat as a pancake. So, you know, they pull off that illusion really well. Really, really well, I think. It's great. And let's have a mooch down here. If we pop on, let's have a look at display depth here. So, of course, the water doesn't come up in this. So you can see the whole Cauldron Lake bed here, which is cool. So all of them there, these are all billboard trees. So just one quad poly each, all the way out here. There's probably, I don't know, might be a couple of thousand polys there, but you know, I mean, that's not much really when you're looking at a massive scene. But let's look at this island that's sticking in there. This one, just interesting to see the LODs on these rocks here. You know, these are high-res assets, so I'm going to switch the display depth off. Let's look at them in full glory. Nice, really good looking stuff, isn't it? Lovely. Yeah, and that's quite a way off the playable area. You know, you don't get anywhere near it. So, you know, really nice looking assets. And let's just put display depth back on so we can see the LOD transitions. So this is our high res here. And then as we back off a bit, let's just speed that up. So we'll be seeing a LOD transition there. So there's one. Oh, yeah, there's even some more subtle ones there. There we go. Right. So that's the first transition there. And then backing off there. Big pop there. So it'd be nice to freeze it here and go and look at it in its lower res state, but not figured out how to do that yet. I mean, maybe there's a way. Yep, I'm continually finding ways to do stuff that I couldn't do before, so you never know. But yeah, interesting, isn't it? You know, it's nice to sort of see how they're swapping different levels of detail in and out. Yeah, cool. Right, let's just go and revisit Saga. Excellent. Right. On with our camera. So Check out all these here. Whoa. Are there more inserts there? These sort of tree rooty sort of things. So it's quite cool, isn't it? Right. So off with that. I could wander around this sort of stuff for ages. And this is it's one of my favorite areas of the game, really. And I think on the whole, I prefer Alan Wake 1 in terms of gameplay because it was primarily set in this sort of landscape, and you were mostly wandering around the Bright Falls area, in the forests and the woodlands at day and night, and going through town and lodges and stuff. And I really like that. This has got some different areas that are much more dark and oppressive, more man-made, without giving any spoilers or anything. So there's a lot of stuff that isn't like this. And just for me, this is the environment I prefer. Wandering around, it's just something I prefer. But it doesn't detract from those other more man-made areas in this game because they look fantastic and they make great use of the ray tracing. It's really cool. It's just a me thing, not a game thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at night time in this area. So I'll see you in a minute. So here we are in the same wooded area, but at night. In the witch's hut here. Let's get a torch on. How good does that look? I mean, this forest really comes alive at night with the torch. I think it's just so atmospheric. And it's really cool. Yeah. I mean, technically it's not night. It's sort of, sunset, isn't it? We get some lovely orangey, sun-drenched vibes coming there. And there's a whole different tone to it at night, which follows on from Alan Wake 1 for me. It's very much the wooded forests and mountains, and that transition from day and night, and different feeling to the gameplay. So much veg, so much, isn't it? I mean, look at all this stuff, the moss on the trees, and it all feels so alive. And check out those, as we just saw, the Billboard Trees up there, just looking fantastic. Really, really great transition from sort of high-res 3D to low-res backdrop stuff. Really great way to build up a level. Yeah, I thought that was really well done. So let's pump the torch back on, run over this rather cool thing, and let's have a look at some of the shadows. Where's a good spot? I think this is pretty cool, actually, this area for shadows and stuff. I mean, let's look at this, right? We've got a hard surface object and some foliage as well. So let's activate the old camera. We have to pause it so that character doesn't move around. Don't usually need to do that on other games I've played, so maybe that's a me thing, but it doesn't really matter. It's interesting with the rain; it's all frozen, isn't it? We're sort of, it's almost like a sort of cinematic movie style pan around, isn't it? Where everything freezes and it goes great. But I want to look at the shadows. Really, really great shadows in this game with the ray tracing is really playing a great part here, and it's just so good. Yeah, it's that other part of like ray tracing is highly associated with light bounce and lighting, but it's shadows too. It's what makes these shadows so great. And check out really nice hard defined shadow where it's in close proximity to the shadow caster, but as you move away it fuzzes like it does in reality, and that it makes such a big difference when you're looking at the scene as a whole. Like if you look at games that have got really hard shadows all the way around, it does stick out quite a lot. It's quite evident. So when you've got this softening here, it's so great, and there's decent resolution on it as well. It looks really good. And I mean, look at that. Look at all these definition in the shadows that you can cast by every little leaf here, because they're proper mesh objects that are moving rather than any shade of trickery. They've got bones in them. And so it works superbly with the ray tracing. It's great, isn't it? Doesn't it look good? Yeah, I'm loving that. I'm loving it. Yeah, so let's just click through a bit. And again, we can see the assets. There's loads of stuff under the ground. They just sit them all in. But, that shouldn't be getting rendered when you're above it. It should be all getting culled out. So, great. Let's check this chair out here as well. And it's all just, it's self-shadowing here, isn't it, as well? Really nice. Again, that definition there, along that line there. How good does that look? And oh man, this metal is really good, isn't it? That metal surface there is just, when you can get this close up and it still holds up, it's remarkable. Look at the metal. This is getting the reflection of the seat fabric on the metal up there, isn't it? And even on the shiny wood on the inside. And, that pattern is getting reflected there. Yeah, and of course, the higher you have your path trace lighting, then, the more light bounce. I think maximum of 3 light bounces. So, you can get reflections in reflections in reflections if you can find a spot to see it. Really, really impressive tech. Is no wonder it's so hard. It's so like resource intensive. Let's check down here. How are we doing on this glass here? Reflection of this cooler box in there. Can we catch any reflection in this bottle? It's a little hard to tell, isn't it, with it being so warped? Yeah. Oh, it's a pleasure to be able to see these scenes so up close. Really good. Wow. Cool. I'm loving that. Let's see. Well, should we have a play with display depth? Let's have a look at that one there. Yeah. Nice. I love seeing the geometry there. When you put it in this mode, you can see just how much geometry there is in all this foliage. And all of that comes at a huge cost of processing. And so it's no wonder that I was having trouble getting decent gameplay footage at 4K. I think I'd need something much more powerful than what I've got to truly do it on this, I wonder if a 5090 would even do it. Don't know. But nice little LOD on the old barrel there. Yeah. Few little transitions from high to low. Really interesting, isn't it? If you're looking at like making your own environments and stuff, this sort of stuff is invaluable to look at, see what sort of density the professional studios are getting out of it, and where they're starting from in terms of LODs and stuff. Really, really cool. Interesting that, isn't it? On that barrel, this far LOD here, is that that looks like the lowest in the chain. It looks better than the next one up, doesn't it? In terms of how it's reading the light. That one, not so great, is it? In terms of like how it reads in a pure bare bones sort of view. Let's turn off display depth and, textures on. Well, you can't really tell, can you? You can't really tell. If I get the torch on it, maybe we'll be able to see more. So let's have a look there. So see if your eagle eyes can catch when it swaps. Much harder when you got the texture. Ooh, leaf in there. See, look, I can't even visibly see it. Any more there? No. There's a really great transition, isn't it? You know, it's the material is hiding any of those little pops that you saw in the geometry. So great, great work. Really good. I really like Remedy as a studio. I think, you know, they do their own thing. They go their own way and they make uniquely their own games. I think yeah, they're a pleasure to play. And Quantum Break, if you've not played Quantum Break, I'd highly recommend that game. Really good, really filmic game. And quite apart from the actual tech and the game, you know, a absolutely amazing cast of actors that they, you know, totally motion captured into the game. And I thought it worked superbly well. And it was like a meeting of a great TV program with a great game. And I mean, I know it had its detractors. There was even one newspaper article at the time saying that it was an experiment that should never be repeated. And that guy had no idea what he was talking about. I think that it was a brilliant experiment that worked tremendously. I loved that game start to finish. Brilliant. Yeah. Even had a Hobbit in it, didn't it? Dominic Monaghan. Love that guy. He's great. Dominic, I'd love to think that you were watching. I doubt you ever will. But yeah, really great performance as a Hobbit and as the sort of techie scientist in Quantum Break. I think if I had a list of fantasy friends, I think those 4 actors who were the Hobbits might be on that list, actually. Yeah, they're... yeah, look like they had a lot of fun filming Lord of the Rings. But anyway, I'm digressing, aren't I? How did I get there? Oh, I went from Remedy to Quantum Break to Hobbits to my sad fantasy friends list. I think we all have one of those, don't we? Don't we? Come on. Yeah. So, yeah, really good, Remedy. Thank you. Done a great job on this game. And I'm really, really loving exploring it and having a little look under the hood as well with these tools. Yeah, really brilliant stuff. So I'm going to leave it there. The next one, I want to look at Bright Falls, the little town. I want to look at that sort of more architecture-oriented sort of area because there's a lot of really, really interesting stuff. And it's a nice kind of opposite to all this natural hillside foliage stuff. So... yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video. So take it easy. Bye.